Hey, welcome to Old Ass Movie Reviews. I'm Scott. That's Dave. I'll get it right one day. And anyway,
I'm
we're
just going to keep
venturing.
going that way.
Yeah, why not? We have another music biopic today. This one is Rocketman. This is the Elton John biopic slash musical. Um,
hmm
and let me just, we'll talk about who this is starring. This is Taron Egerton, who does an incredible job of channeling his
He
own
really
inner Elton John. He doesn't, not
did a really good
exactly
job.
Elton, but he's got the energy, man. It's so
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Jamie Bell as Bernie Taupin, Richard Madden, John Reed. And what this is the third time I've watched it, and the first time I've looked at the cast. And for every
Right,
time I've watched, I've been
right.
like, who the hell is his mom? Who is his mom? So I
Oh
look it up, it's
yeah,
like,
right.
oh my God, that's Bryce Dallas Howard. It's like, oh, she plays horrible so well.
And she does a really good British accent. She did a
Yeah,
great British
that's why I didn't
accent.
think it was her. It's like, oh my God.
Well, she had the dyed hair and a British accent. I mean, and
Yeah,
freckles. They darkened up her freckles a little bit,
that is
and I was
true.
like, oh, man, I wouldn't have recognized her until Kat told me. So
Yeah. And this movie is directed by Dexter Fletcher, who also has director credits on Bohemian Rhapsody, the Freddie
mhm,
Mercury Queen story.
right.
No stranger to musical movies. So this is, as I just said, I've watched this now 3 times. Dave, this was your first time seeing it. What was
This
your
is my first
impression?
time seeing it. Um, all in all, if you like musical biopic type things, this is good. But no going in, and this is I had already heard this, and this is one of the reasons I really didn't. I had no
Mm,
want to see it, but you said it was good, and I was like, okay, Scott's telling me it's pretty good. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna check it out. Is all the music that's in the movie is out of order?
yeah.
All the music is completely out of order. It's done for mood of the moment, and
Hmm.
that upsets me a little bit.
Okay.
The wife and I were talking about it last night. She's like, yeah, but music isn't like that. Music is more for a mood, or just because something was written back in the 50s doesn't mean you can't listen to something now and get, oh, that connects to me. That
Yeah.
song connects to me and what I'm doing right now. It's my party and I cry if I want to. Some 18-year-old, 17-year-old girl listening to that now, that might connect to very solidly.
Hmm.
So I was like, yeah, I get it. I get that. But for me, in order to a, to make this story a little bit more coherent, I think they should have used songs and music of the time period of when he was having issues, like whatever, like when he joined the
Hmm.
band, the initial band, and was
Yeah.
touring with all the black bands. There should have been a little bit more music of that time period. You'd have been like, oh, okay, that's the late 60s, got it.
Right.
This is the early 70s, got it. And the music should have followed the time period. I understand the mood that a lot of the music
Hmm.
popped into. So that's cool. I'm good with that. All in all, I did like the movie. Storytelling for me was choppy. I will, because I think what happened is I was listening to the music trying to figure out, even knowing that it was out of order, like, okay, now what time period is this supposed to be
Yeah.
happening in? Oh, it's is how long of a point A happen before point C happened?
I
What
see.
happened in point B? Like I was trying to set up a timeline because there were some really major jumps where I'm like, well, what the hell just happened there?
I
And then they're using a song that he did, 20 years prior to whatever time period he's supposed to be in, or something from the future. And I'm like, I have no idea where the timeline's going here. Other
oh
than that, I was, I just, so you don't think I'm just being really
no,
picky,
no.
because that's kind of a
I
picky
just want to
thing for
comment
me.
on that because this is the
Oh,
first
go
time I've
ahead.
heard that. That's the first time I've heard that argument, but it's
Uh,
true. The songs do not go in chronological order. And
right.
while I think if we were watching an actual biography that isn't so overly stylized,
Hmm.
This movie is dripping in metaphor and
Oh
messages,
yeah,
and
yeah, most
holy
definitely.
shit, it is
Hmm.
everywhere. Every little thing in this movie has meaning, and the more I watch it, the more I
Hmm.
see, the more I pick up, and it's like, holy
Yeah,
cow, so much thought went into it. So I think in this case they did that with the songs, but as a watcher hearing that, I see exactly why you would jump like that. It's like, okay, wait a minute, what's going
right,
on? I never honestly, all the times I've watched it, yeah, I noticed it's like, well, that would have been later, but it just never bothered me. But I get it. I
right.
get it. I see how it tricks your
See,
head.
that's where my hooks went into, and I just
Right.
couldn't let it go for a while. Um, but as far as metaphor goes, and then I'm going to jump back onto what I was
We
going to
can go the
say
way the movie
earlier.
does.
Yeah, exactly. The metaphor of him walking into group therapy. Now, folks, real quick, we do spoilers on this show. If you've never watched the show before, Scott and I have seen the movie, and we're just going to talk about the movie. We're going to talk about
Yep.
what we like and what we don't
Spoilers
like.
abound.
Spoilers, yes, we do spoilers on everything, except for Prey. I think Prey and the
Anything
monsters and
current,
something else. There's like
we stay
a
away
couple
from
little
spoilers.
things
Yeah.
we haven't. But all in all, we're going to spoil a movie for you. Um, the metaphor of him walking into group therapy in the devil costume was really telling. And then
Wasn't it?
what I really liked was every time he had a breakthrough in his life, he breaks off the horns the first time. And then eventually you see him taking parts of the costume off. And it's very, very metaphorical.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in the group mentions it. He doesn't mention that he's doing it. It's just the devil type costumes coming off.
Yeah.
When when you finally get through to the movie, at one point when he's really, really in the dumps and he's talking about the shit life that he's got and how horrible and bad he feels, he's just sitting in group therapy in a robe. The robe looks like he's probably pissed in it. He's a mess. His hair's disheveled and he's just like slouched down. And he's like, I don't care about this crap. And then as he gets a little bit better, they go back to the main story. It comes back and he's in like his basic jogging outfit. He's
Mm.
got the black shirt on. He's got a jogging outfit on. It's kind of a designer thing. He's got his,
Yeah.
Elton John, more modern glasses on, and he looks cleaned up and he's wearing nice tennis shoes. But it's nice to see if you watch the movie, just watch the images of the actor as Elton John in therapy,
Oh
and
yeah.
you'll be like, oh, I get what's going on. Oh, that's really cool, and they do it so well. I thought.
Yeah.
Go
And
ahead.
no, and one of the things that about that, and that is the first most obvious scene. The movie starts with the
Mhm.
doors flying open, and here comes this devil with
Yeah,
wings, and it's Elton John walking, and he comes into therapy, and he's so I almost like, I don't need you, I don't need any, and he goes through
yeah,
that progression. But by the time we get to the end of the movie, and it comes back because the movie ends with him walking out of therapy
yeah,
and being
yeah,
reborn basically.
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
so when they show him again at that point in the movie walking in the devil costume, they actually zoom up and you start to see feathers falling from the costume,
Oh,
beads
yeah.
coming off, and it's like, I never
When he's
caught that
headed
before.
back into
Yes.
therapy at the end of the movie.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
when he's crossed
yeah, that
now
was
it's all
really
just
nice.
coming off, and he's coming. It's like a butterfly.
Yeah,
And I'm going to get this out of the way because this is the moment that I wasn't prepared for. There's other parts in this movie that used to hit me a little harder than other, and
yeah.
um, but at the end of the movie when he's in therapy and his younger self is standing in the middle of the room,
Oh my God, I was just about ready to start crying on that,
dude,
dude.
I can hardly talk about it because it's so
Yeah,
emotional. Because
yeah.
his younger self looks up and says, "When are you going to hug me?" And it's like, oh man.
that
So
that
when
is a moment.
he connects back to, so much in this movie goes round and round because you go back to that
Yeah.
musician from that early band that he was working with, where he's playing keyboards
Mhm.
with, and he tells him, you have to kill who you were meant to be in order to be who you want to be, or whatever, and or
Right. Yes.
something along
Yeah.
that
Something to that
line,
effect.
and so that's what he did. But at the end of the
Yeah.
movie, he reconnects to that part of his life, that little boy, that
Right.
energy, and he embraces it, and it's such a beautiful moment. And
Mhm.
it just I wasn't prepared for that after last
Yeah,
night. So I was
yeah.
like, wow, damn, so well
That was
done,
a
so well done.
really that was a really good moment. Really good moments.
Yeah,
The stuff between him and his parents really
so
really strike a chord. Um, but there are the funny thing is this movie, me going into it, I was not expecting so many heartfelt, tear-jerking moments. You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
Like
I wasn't either
I
when the first
never
time I
like I
watched it.
as a kid growing up, and I'm a huge Elton John fan. I'm only Elton John uh, um, Bernie Taupin fan. I'm
Yeah.
not Elton John without Bernie Taupin fan because 99.9% of that music that he did without Bernie Taupin honestly was just bad music. He didn't have anybody who cared about him around him at that in that time period.
Mhm.
And he's
Bernie wa
obviously the first one to admit it
Bernie was
now.
his rock.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
and I,
He
you know,
needed the friend.
you see this, and I think that's another thing that every time I've watched this movie, I just get more and more out of it,
Mhm.
and it's just, yeah, his parents were shit, but one thing I thought was one of the coldest things that his mother could say to him is, "You'll always be alone, and you'll never be loved properly." And it's like, oh my
And,
god,
and the funny thing is, as she was saying that, Bernie Taupin is a straight guy. Bernie Taupin is his best friend. Bernie Taupin loved him, obviously loved him and still does,
oh,
because I
absolutely,
think Bernie Taupin is still alive. I think, I'm pretty sure he's still
yeah,
alive. Obviously still loves him. And what the mother was talking about was just sexual love,
hmm
man and
and
woman
well,
love.
and
And
look at her, she was whoring around.
she was terrible. She was a terrible person. But what she didn't take into account was, and Elton John at the time didn't take into account, was that Bernie Taupin loved him,
hmm
was his
There was
friend.
his, yeah,
That was his rock. That was the one who loves you no matter what kind of thing. And obviously, years of them not talking didn't change that for Bernie and didn't change it for Elton John, really. They just had a
yeah,
moment. Like, we're not going to talk anymore. One of them, I just really wish this would have told a little bit more truth. You know,
hmm
they hit big, broad swaths,
yeah,
but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more truth in like the storytelling instead
hmm
of it all being metaphor. Because there was a scene about halfway through the movie where Bernie Taupin and Elton John are kind of talking in the hallway as Elton John's going on into a concert. And Bernie says something like, "Hey, just take it easy. You don't need to do all this. You just go out there and sing."
yeah,
And Elton John turns around and says, "You're just the lyric guy. Let me do the music. Let me be the
yeah. Don't
star,"
tell me
kind
how to
of
do my
thing.
job. Yeah,
Basically telling Bernie, like, all you do is write words, back off. Well, I remember as a kid growing up and watching right before he and Bernie Taupin stopped working together, Elton John being on a lot of talk shows. And I think that moment in the hallway is supposed to take is supposed to condense all the shit that he was
yeah,
saying about Bernie on the talk shows.
yeah.
And it wasn't even all directly at Bernie Taupin. It wasn't like, well, Bernie Taupin's just a punk kind of thing. It was just him degrading, like, lyrics aren't that important. I'm important, and I
hmm
did it all on my own. I didn't need Bernie. I didn't need anybody. It's all me. And I'm
Oh
sure that was all
man.
the drugs talking. That was all the alcohol talking. That was like all the people whisper in his ear talking.
Oh yeah, like what's his
Bernie and
John
him
Reed?
finally had a
Jeez.
yeah. He and Bernie probably had to come to Jesus meeting, and that's when Bernie was like, "Yeah, fine. You're so good. I'll leave. Bye."
Mhm.
But I don't think that knowing that your friend has a problem and you can't help them doesn't mean you don't love that person
Yeah,
still.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I think
yeah.
we've all
Anybody
met
that's ever
somebody
dealt
recently.
with
Yeah,
an addiction,
you,
yeah, it's.
yeah.
I'm not
Just
going to
because I
judge.
can't help you, and
Yeah,
just because I'm not going to talk to you anymore, doesn't mean I'm not going to pray for you. And
yeah,
I still love you. And if
absolutely.
you ever show a sign of trying, I'll come back.
Mhm.
And I think that's what happened in
What
Elton
it felt
John's life.
like.
It was like a moment where Bernie Taupin saw that he could get in there and make the wedge, like wedge it open and make it like, yes, look, I'm still your friend. I love you. You don't have to worry about that. I'm not judging you. And Bernie Taupin
Mm,
never judged him in the book, in the movie. And
no.
as far as I know, he never that I could ever find ever said anything bad about Elton John. He's just
Yeah,
like, yeah, we just don't work together now, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
that's one of the things that they say in the movie, and they've I heard it twice, or once it was said and then it popped up on the end credits
Oh
that they've
yeah,
never had an
yeah,
argument. And I'm like, oh bullshit. But I believe they're
yeah.
still friends.
Well, and I think what they mean by they've never
They
had an
never had
argument,
a complete falling
it,
out. Yeah.
yeah, it never came to hating one another.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they mean by argument. It's like they never had an argument that caused them to never love each other.
Because even
You know what I mean?
let's go back to that. I think it might have been that hallway scene or another scene close to it when Elton said a bunch of horrible things, and then he starts to go out on stage, and he stops and he reaches back and touches Bernie and says, "I'm
Yeah,
sorry," and
yeah,
Bernie's like, "I know."
yeah. It's like
So
it's not you, or he says it's the alcohol, or he says
yeah,
something, and yeah, and Bernie's like, yeah, I know.
yeah.
And Bernie's trying to get him to relax. Bernie, like, I'm going,
He
I'm
doesn't want to
taking
see his
some
friend
time.
die,
I'm
man.
burnt out.
Yeah,
Yeah, and well, he's trying to get him to come with him. Look, we can go to the mountains, man. Nobody will know where we're at. I
yeah.
got a place in America. I think Bernie Taupin's American. I could be wrong. Thought he was an
I'm
American
not sure.
living abroad, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But he's trying to get Elton to stop. Just stop doing the drugs. We'll go out. We'll write songs like we used to. We got the money. We can go relax. We'll just put everybody behind us.
Yeah.
And Elton just starts freaking out because he doesn't know what to do without the crowd. He doesn't know what to do without the entourage. He doesn't know what to do without people pampering him.
And
And I
this
think that
is
was a huge problem with his life.
well, and we see that with a lot of artists, a
Mhm.
lot of famous people who hit it with either too young or don't have real friends and real support.
Right.
And it's like you always wonder, it's like, well, how did that? How come MC Hammer's broke? How come this
Yeah.
professional football player's broke? What you've had millions? How? But they don't know, and they're manipulated, and they kind of show
Yeah.
that in this movie, the manipulation from Reed. Um, yeah, what a scumbag, at least
Yeah. What a
portrayed in the movie.
scumbag.
Um,
That guy's whoever acted that part out
he did it
played it really
well,
good.
man.
And
He,
the
he
funny
had it
thing is,
all.
I think if I remember correctly, Elton John wound up really screwing that guy over, like
Good.
deservedly so.
Yeah.
If again, like when I used to pay attention to certain stars, and Elton John,
Mm,
like I said, I grew up listening to him. I was
yeah.
always like interested in what he was doing. And the thing that almost killed Elton John's career in this country was back in the '70s, and it basically was just a hiccup, really. Is I remember him being on, I think, the Johnny Carson show and talking about being gay.
Hmm.
And
Very
back in the
early.
'70s, folks, if you were a star, you didn't talk about things like that. You just didn't. And Elton John was I forgot what the joke was, something about going to a leather bar. And he turns to the guy next to him, and I don't remember who it was, but he says, "You know what I'm talking about." And the guy's like, "Yeah." And he turns back to Johnny Carson, and you can just see Johnny Carson like, I have no idea what to say to this guy about this, Even though I knew he was gay, it's like,
Yeah.
you're not, it's the unwritten rule back then. You just don't talk about it.
It was
But to Elton
ridiculous.
John, he had been open for so long with everybody that was around him.
Hmm.
It didn't dawn on him not to say it. You know what
And
I mean? It
yeah, let
didn't
me
dawn
add
on him to try and keep it a secret.
let me add on to that is he's one of the earliest performers that I remember actually coming out, and it really
Yeah,
was just a if there was a bunch of people losing their minds, which there probably were, they sure got
yeah,
over it pretty quickly. No different than today, but it's just
yeah. None of his fans.
yeah, but this is how this fear was built in back then. Nobody wanted to
Mhm.
because oh my
Yeah,
god, it would destroy you. They would burn your records and run you out
right,
of the
right.
country. And it's like wow. Um, but that was he just wanted to live his life. His songs show that when you look at I think
Yeah.
it's Philadelphia Freedom, if I'm not mistaken, is about coming out, and that's an old
Mhm.
song. So he was there like Rob Halford after him. Just hey,
Right.
it's I'm writing about it. I'm living my life, and it's just
I still think it's funny when Rob Halford came out that anybody was surprised by that. And I
no.
remember back in the '80s talking to my friends going, he's gay. And everybody's looking at me, you're crazy. He's the most metal guy in the world. I said, yeah, he's the most metal guy in the world, but he's gay. And they're
Yeah.
like, no way. And I forgot what song it was because it's been a long time since I've listened like to a lot of their albums. I think it's Living After Midnight.
I was about to say Living
Living
After Midnight.
After Midnight. That's definitely a gay bar song,
Oh my
right?
God, when you hear the
Um,
lyrics.
when you listen to the lyrics, and I remember pointing it out to guys like that song is about being gay. And they're like, oh, you're fucking crazy. And then like 20 years later, Rob Halford comes out of the closet. I call up my buddy. I was like, told you so.
Yeah, and he's like, I've been saying it
Like,
all
what do
along,
you
is
think
what he
about Rob
said.
Halford? And just hung up the phone.
Yeah, because he says I've been doing it all along. So Elton John, very much like that, was just in your face. And there's something.
And it doesn't make any difference. Rob Halford's got one of the greatest
Oh
metal
yeah,
songs. He is a
yeah.
metal god. I didn't give a shit. I
Nobody
just thought it
did.
was funny that everybody who would sit there and talk crap about gay people were hanging out and still listening to Elton John too. It's like, you guys know he's gay. I mean, you
I
guys
know.
sit there and bullshit. And
It's so
they'd look at me
weird.
like, well, what about you? I'm like, I love Elton John. I don't give a shit. I love Rob Halford. I don't give a shit.
Really, who cares? It is not going to turn you gay.
I'm going to take
Good
a
God.
wild guess and say either Beethoven, Bach, Mozart. So one of these guys had to be gay back then. I
I'm
don't
sure.
care. Their
Did they
music
do
is
good music?
fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
One of the
just
things
so funny.
I want to roll back to the movie. But
Right,
yeah,
right.
sorry about getting off on the Judas Priest tangent, but it just reminded me of the difference of coming out then versus now, because it was
Right,
just like nobody
right.
cared when Halford did, but yeah, so things were different.
Mm.
I love how they show he was like a prodigy, like a genius, when
Yeah,
it
yeah,
came to
he
the
was good at it.
piano. When he goes to his audition, and she's like,
Oh,
"You didn't bring any music?" And he's like, "I didn't know I was supposed to." He said, "Well, play something."
yeah.
And he played. When he walks into his audition, the instructor is actually playing this beautiful piece, and she stops
Mhm.
abruptly. Well, when Elton sits down at the table and he starts playing exactly what she was playing, and then
Yeah.
stops, she's like, "Why'd you stop?" And he's like, "Well, that's where you stopped." He was like,
Yeah,
"Wow."
that's he had never heard the piece before. He's like, well, that's where you stopped. And she just looks at him. She stops and she looks at him. She's like, you've got a great ear. I'm going to show you how to do this. And she instantly was like, okay, this kid's got the ear for it. Now, if I can teach him how to read and write music,
Which,
there's
yeah,
not going to be any stopping this cat.
not.
And was she French? I think she was French.
Yeah,
No, she was Scottish. She
okay.
was Scottish. So, because she had the bit of an accent, she
But
sit up straight.
yeah, they show a lot of this throughout the movie, at least early on, when Bernie would just hand him some lyrics and he would sit down, and
Right.
it was neat to just see him start to play a few notes, and being an Elton John fan, it's like, oh, holy cow, I know this
Yeah.
song. I know where we're going, and
Yeah.
it's like, wow, very cool. Very cool.
That's this. Like I said, there's little things in the movie that kind of got to me where I was like,
Yeah.
like I didn't need to see two guys making out. Judge me if you want. I didn't need to see it, but it is an integral part of the story of his life.
Yeah.
So I'm okay. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Does that make sense? If it would have just been in there gratuitously,
It wasn't
and this
gratuitous.
is, and you and I have talked about this before, like just love scenes for love scene's sake.
Hmm.
If it would have been just for that, I would have been like,
Yeah, it
now you're
wasn't.
pandering. But it wasn't pandering. They had to show certain things in this movie to show you what kind of mental stress he was under
Yeah.
and what kind of crap life he was leading. And the way they did it was actually really well done.
Yeah, it was
So it's
no
just
different. None of that mattered. So it just, this is who he is,
right.
and I would expect, you know, yeah, it didn't feel gratuitous. It wasn't tacked on. Even the scenes later on when he is just like at the bottom of everything, and he's in the
Right.
clubs and the orgies and all of that, and they're showing
Even that was
all.
more metaphor.
And it was all, yeah, it was metaphorical, but
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. It's done in an artistic way, in a way that makes sense.
Right.
It's completely different animal, and
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
this is. This is a well written, well shot film. I mean, and just the amount, it's just oozing with symbology in this. It's
Mhm.
wild. To
Yeah.
The more I watch it, the more I see. So it's who
And
knows what I'll
I
run
would
across next
say,
time.
right. I would say that if you're a person writing a movie and you want to use symbolism, if you want to use metaphor, if you want to go and look at how to use things, use shots and use music to get an emotion. This movie is really good for that. It
Oh, it is.
really is, because there, like I said, there were a few moments where I did not expect to choke up. I did not expect to get a tear in my eye. I did not expect to go,
This one will do it to
"Wow,
you.
poor Elton John." You know, really, I was just like, "Poor Elton John." There were a couple times where I was just like, "That poor guy. Somebody needs to beat up his dad.
I know, right?
Somebody needs to beat the
Right?
shit out of his mom." You know, something like that. Um, but I like, I don't like the way the story was told. Like I said, it still feels very mishmashy,
Right.
but I like the story. Does that
It
does that
does.
make
I
sense?
understand that. I
Right.
think it just comes down to a preference, and I can understand your issues with it on that aspect. I just for me, it just all falls together, and that
Right.
never registers. This is a
Like,
musical, so with
mhm.
dance numbers, even a little very short
Oh yeah.
Bollywood moment, which is like, look at there.
I just chuckled about that. I was like, of course they're gonna have a Bollywood moment in there. Of course they are.
Of course, but the whole um, dance number or scene that I thought was the best out of the movie. I really liked when they did Honky Cat
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, that's
club,
pretty
all
good.
dressed up and everything. It's like that was really neat. And the person at the
Hmm.
end who dives over the piano, I was like, "What the hell? What's that?" It's like a dolphin.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, somebody had a
Got a
fish over
ball in
there or
his
something.
nose.
Yes, but yeah, so it's got good music if you like Elton John. It's got some dance
Mhm.
numbers. It is a musical, and not in the sense that everything is sang, but it does
Right.
break into it because, and this is why
A
the
lot of songs.
songs, this is why the
Yeah.
songs go out of order because at certain points in his life, that song all of a sudden makes sense, and I get
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah, so it was done like Kat said for mood.
Whereas um, Bohemian Rhapsody was done in order, like
It
the
did,
music,
yes,
and that's
absolutely.
I was, and that's, I know I'm going to sound really pedantic here, but I preferred
No,
that
you
type
never
of
do that.
storytelling. That everything, yeah, right, that was in order. Like I
Yeah,
like that because I could put, okay, this has happened then at this year, and this year is the year that this happened. This song came out then, so that's what's happening
yeah.
now. I get it. I can put it all together much easier than I can in this one.
Yeah, because the music you're used
And
to hearing that at certain points in your life,
mhm,
and now all of a sudden, wait, that wasn't the time frame. I get it.
right, right. So now I think if I watch this again, I'd be much more open to go, oh, okay, I see it even better now. I see why they're the storytelling. I was a little depressed that they didn't have the Madman Across the Water. You know,
Mhm.
Madman Across the Way in there.
Yeah,
Uh Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy. I was waiting for that one to show up. Didn't show up. So they
there's
don't have
really
all
not
your
a lot.
favorites in there, but they got a lot of them in there. They got a
Yeah,
lot of good songs and
well,
good
it's
soundtrack.
pretty much his top 10 list
Yeah,
of the hits. You will
yeah,
know
this is
every
it.
song that plays.
And it's funny because it's all Bernie Taupin songs. They don't play one non-Bernie Taupin song.
Now, what I do like is where the songs fit is never was a fan of this song in the 80s, but I appreciate it more as I'm Still Standing. how they
Yeah,
how they put it
yeah,
in, and now you listen to the words and look at where he's at in his life, and it's like that's really cool. And I love
yeah.
how they took and recreated and blended the 80s video with
Holy,
today. That was cool.
holy crap. Holy crap. They did such a good job of basically reshooting that video.
Yeah, and they
You
mixed the
know?
old with the new, and it was like really cool.
Yeah.
Well done.
Like you couldn't freaking tell. Like I didn't know that it was any of the old video. I thought it was all brand new
Yeah,
until you just said that.
I could
So
be
I'm
wrong, but
shocked.
it looked like bits and pieces. It looked like a whole mix match of it,
Such
and
a
I need
good,
to take a
it was a
look.
good
But
cut. It was
it
a
was
really good
neat. It
cut.
was neat to see, and I got nothing but praise for Taron Egerton and his performance. I thought it was really well done
Good job.
as an
Really good
actor.
job.
Holy cow, did he have to really? I can't imagine what
I'm
this
just
took out
gonna
of him.
I'm just gonna call it right now that I like this movie. If you like musical biopics, this probably isn't exactly what you're gonna expect, but I
It's
do
different.
recommend it, especially if you're an Elton John fan.
Yeah.
That's
That's
my call. I'm just going to go out there and say that it's a good. And there's going to be moments when you're least expecting it. All of a sudden, you're going to have a tear like building up in your eye, and you're going to be like, "Where the hell did that come from? I don't know what the poor Elton John, poor Bernie Taupin,
yeah.
stupid
Well,
Elton John treating Bernie that way."
I'm yeah, I'm not ashamed to say, since I've seen this multiple times, I sat down with a box of tissue nearby because I knew it was going to hit me at some point. And and I got through the parts that fucked me up before. And when we
Right,
got to that
right.
part with his younger self, for whatever reason in my life, it just breaks
Oh,
me, man. It's like, oh,
that
so it's like,
when
wow.
he's standing there because he's had his conversation with his mom, his
Hmm.
dad, his stepdad, and which sad is the stepdad is the one who
He
liked
was
him the
kind of
most
cool.
out of all three of his parents.
Yeah.
The stepdad is like, yeah, this is for your mom, and he's like, he didn't want to ask him any questions about that shit. He's just like, yeah, whatever. But it's like when it comes to the kid, you see the kid standing there, and it's like, oh shit, now he's got to make amends with himself, and
Yeah.
that's
That's
like
powerful,
he's
man.
just accepting, like the little kid in him is accepting the adult that he's become, and the adult is accepting that I was once Reggie Dwight, and this is who I am. This is who I
This is
really
who I
am.
am. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
It's
that's
beautiful.
that's a
It's
good
beautiful.
scene. It's a
Yeah,
very
that
nice scene.
I agree. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. Just
Mhm.
because it hits me every time I've watched it,
Right.
as being an Elton John fan, I remember growing up and hearing Elton John all the time. So if I hear an Elton John
Right.
song, I'm taken to the 70s pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool, and it will take me back to memories that I had forgotten and other things like
Yeah.
that. So it is a very interestingly done musical biopic.
Mhm.
I thought it was very creative, and I
Yeah.
really dig
Yeah.
it. I really dig it. Good songs, you can't go wrong with it. To me, it's over very quickly, and it's a 2 hour
Yeah. It's
movie,
a 2 hour movie.
but it's
Yeah.
like that. It's like, wow, we're
Yeah. It
done.
was it went
Okay.
by quick. The first few minutes, I honestly going into this for the first few minutes, I was thinking that this is my Xanadu. That this is my
Oh no.
how you feel about
Yeah, yeah,
Xanadu.
yeah,
This is how
yeah.
I thought I was going to feel about this movie. I was like, oh shit, I can hardly wait to hit Scott with this. You
Oh,
like
good.
make me watch
No,
this piece of shit. I was like,
I
ah,
would have
ha,
let you
ha.
know.
And then like in like a few minutes, I mean, the first time I got a little tear jerk in my eye, I was like, okay, Scott, you win. You
Yeah,
jerk.
this is. I don't care what you say. This is better than Xanadu.
Oh, it is. No, I'm saying I'd like what I'm saying is when I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
first going in, I was like, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna tell Scott this is my Xanadu, and and I was just like, no, I can't tell him that. Not in all truth. No, I enjoyed this movie. I
yeah,
like this movie. There are moments of it that I don't like only
mhm,
because it's life. You know
yeah,
what I mean? It's like you're just like, yeah, that's gotta suck.
yeah.
But it's
Yes,
not the
it's
movie.
hard sometimes to because
It's the
we watch
situation.
movies. Yeah, we watch movies to escape, and when movies hit a little close to home, it's hard. I would bet that anybody that watches this is gonna feel something.
Yeah, there's going to be a moment where you're like, no, yeah, I can get that. I understand that completely.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's my take on this movie.
yeah.
Watch
Mine
it,
is
watch it, watch it. It's
watch it.
good. It's if you have seen it already, watch it again because it's
Yeah,
it's a
you're
good
gonna be
flick.
surprised at
And
what you find.
yeah, I would actually like to have seen. There is, I think, a documentary that I spotted the other day as I was clicking through, and
Mhm.
I think it's about Elton John and Bernie
Okay.
Taupin's relationship and friends and partners. And I think it's called Rocketman, the Elton John story. I
Oh, interesting.
I think I could be wrong, but when I was looking for it, I saw it and
I'll
I
have
think
to.
I put it in my queue. I'm gonna have to watch it. It
I'll,
looks pretty good. But
I'll
I'm an Elton John fan, like you said,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
years.
And I will let you know, since and you may still have it on Paramount.
Mhm.
They have they re-released Behind the Music, that used to be the show on VH1 that would do all the band documentaries, and
No kidding.
many of them are updated. with brand new interviews and stuff and parts of the
No
old show.
kidding.
So we've watched quite a few of them. So it's pretty neat to see that stuff come back that we, used to watch on TV. It's like, wow, really
Yeah, me
cool.
and the wife used to watch those all the
Yeah, so
time.
go
Yeah,
look.
yeah.
Behind the Music is on there.
All
There's
right.
like 2 seasons or something like that, like 20 episodes.
No
So
kidding.
yeah, good stuff.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
folks,
I'll watch those.
thank you for joining us. Thanks for all our new listeners and watchers and subscribers. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe button. Hang tight because we're going to be bouncing in and out of music, movies, and
Yep.
and off and beyond into the stars next again. So for something you shall
Just
see.
tell them. Just tell them.
Star Trek is on the way. We are going to visit the Star Trek
movies.
movies. So come with us, fellow Trekkies. So thank you.
Music. Trekkies and music.